Hey friends, it's Cindy Rowe with Cindy Rowe Marketing, and today on Backstage Live, I have Robert from Fresh Horizons Group. Hello, Robert.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on today, Cindy.
Thank you for joining me. I so appreciate it. I know we've had a chance to work together in the past, and just recently over the summer learned a little bit more about your past. So, why don't you tell everybody what Fresh Horizons Group does and how you got to start your business?
Yeah, well, thank you. Fresh Horizons Group is a custom apparel and promo company based here in beautiful Beloit, Wisconsin. And our focus is we help clients elevate their brand through physical products. Those can range anywhere from simple business cards all the way to large trade show displays. We like to say that we bring a concierge level service to promo. A lot of times clients have come to us because they're frustrated with going to the big websites, and we are able to help answer those questions of, hey, what's trending, what's happening, and make sure that they really get exactly what they need to take their brand to the next level or better communicate that brand, their brand, to their audience.
That's great. So, how long have you been in business?
We've owned Fresh Horizons for 2.5 years now.
Great. And how have you seen it evolve?
It's really interesting. Fresh Horizons originally started off as a coffee company called Fresh Horizons Coffee, which you can still purchase the coffee. But the story went that we started off doing fundraising using that coffee. Had a client come to us and say, "Hey, could you do a T-shirt fundraiser?" And we're like, "Yeah, let's do it." We did that and almost instantly realized there was a much greater addressable market in the custom apparel and promo industry than there was in the coffee fundraising side of things. And so we made a pivot and have really grown the company to be that one-stop shop, that all-encompassing solution for a client to be able to source all of their custom printed items.
So that's really cool that it was actually a client that helped you transform into where you're at now. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to do things is listen to what the client tells you.
Yeah, had that been on your radar before, or were you kind of just in the mindset of, yeah, we really want to do this coffee fundraiser company?
Yeah, so I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've owned many different companies over my career. The I've always loved sales, and marketing was kind of new, but then I realized that my passion for sales really fit well with that. Having owned a company called Lights and Safety Depot about 10 years ago, where we sold high vis apparel and warning lights to contractors and municipalities, I already had an understanding of how to create decorated apparel. So that it was an easy transition because I already understood it. I didn't necessarily know, the ins and outs of all the different apparel items that we handle now, but I understood the concept, and so it was just a matter of applying that to this industry and then finding the resources to be able to bring all those pieces together.
Did you have to purchase machines or technology or whatever it is to create these things, or are they done on at offsite or?
Yeah. So something that really sets Fresh Horizons apart from a lot of other companies in this space is that we can handle orders of everything from a simple one shirt order all the way to needing 1,000 banners. In house, we own the equipment to be able to produce those short runs. So if somebody's like, "Hey, I need one or two banners made, or I need a couple of yard signs, or I need 5 T-shirts and some name badges and things like that," we handle those short runs in house. the larger runs, we have companies and partners all around the world that enable us to be able to handle those really large orders as well, and still be able to provide that concierge level service. And this is where we start to really differentiate ourselves, because there's a lot of places out there that can do one or the other, and there's few that will stand in the middle and say we can help here on both, because there's a lot of companies that need those things. Maybe they've got a new hire and they just need a couple of polo shirts, but they don't need to order 4 dozen of them. They just need a couple for that new hire. And so we're able to stand there as well, but then also back them up that if they're doing a big event where they're like an employee appreciation event or new client appreciation event, that we can stand there alongside them and supply all of those needs.
That's cool. Well, yes, I know it's nice to have a company where you can just order 1 or 2 shirts.
Yes. Yep.
And soon you guys can see their quality of work, because I've ordered a couple polos.
Yes,
I was getting
100%.
sick
Yeah,
of
we're
blue, turquoise blue one. I'm like, I need different colors. I want to
for sure. They're going to be really cool.
So tell me a little bit. So you said you're a serial entrepreneur. You've had another business you have already mentioned. What do you think it takes to be an entrepreneur? Like, what kind of personality or traits do you think are necessary to be that entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it takes somebody that's willing to take a risk. Not necessarily the risk of like, I'm going to bet the farm on something, but the willingness to step out of what the norm is and try something. It doesn't mean you have to even spend even $1,000. Sometimes it's just the willingness to try. I think that's a great differentiator, and so the risk is feeling uncomfortable amongst your peers to try something new. I think that's really important. The other is to have tenacity, to stick through it, because it's easy when things are easy, but it takes a lot of tenacity to overcome those challenging times or those opportunities to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. So I'm celebrating my 5-year anniversary of being in business, and I've taken some time to reflect back over the years, and you nailed 2 of the things that I've already said, like just start, right? Like if I didn't just start, I wouldn't be here, right?
Yeah.
And I had a lot of naysayers. I didn't have a huge cheerleading squad behind me, encouraging me. More so, people were telling me not to do it. And then, getting through those hurdles, having the tenacity, because ever since I started my business, every year there's been a hurdle. And
100%.
It's so funny because you're like, what's it going to be next? Like, I've already dealt with this, and this, and I'm pretty sure I can handle whatever is thrown my way. Now, I'm good.
The thing that stands out so much when you talk about that, and this is a common theme among entrepreneurs, is that we go through those things and then all of a sudden we realize we're even more powerful or more capable than we originally thought we were.
Yes.
We doubt ourselves way more than what the world actually does. We mess ourselves up more in between our ears than the world ever does. A lot of times the world puts you on a pedestal because you are an entrepreneur. And in our own mind, we're just this feeble little thing, and it's so much, we get in our own way more than the world does.
I agree with you over and over and over again. So true. We're our own worst critic. We're harder on ourselves than anybody ever will. So when you were in these other businesses, how did you know it was time to turn over a new leaf and start something new?
You know, it was kind of a progression. Um, in that transition in the coffee to this, it was really it was really easy because basically, this will sound goofy, but people started spending a lot of money with us on in the promo side. We just kind of tested the waters, and it just went really well. And so that was an easy transition. Making the transition away from our lawn care company, which we've owned for I think 23 years now. That and to take the focus off of there and put it here was one of kind of some soul searching and saying, where do we want to be in the next 20 years? And is this an industry where we believe that we can have passion and heart 20 years from now? And we didn't see it there. And our lawn care company is still growing and doing well. But our focus is here because this is where we're going for that next career, that next step in the journey. And it was really based on where's our passion, what do we feel is something that we can grow with, more, more so than just a day-to-day routine.
Sure. So, what kind of challenges have you experienced in the last couple of years
A
besides
lot.
COVID?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll just take that one out of the equation because everybody got whacked with that one.
Right?
Um, I think I think the greatest challenge has been time management, um, and in figuring out how to be present in all of the different things, right? Um, Being present as a father, being present as a husband, those are number one and two, right? And then figuring out how do I be present and active in the lawn care company so that it doesn't just collapse, yet still have focus and energy to build this. As you know, being 5 years in, those first couple of years that you were building Cindy Rowe marketing, it was crazy hard, right? It was just a grind. You're just like, I've got to find that new client, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that. And the challenge has been to maintain the focus to be able to get through those initial hurdles of how do we find that first client, how do we find
Right.
what our true niche is, and to keep pushing forward and still be a good dad, still be a good husband. Though I think that's the biggest challenge that I've experienced. And it all marries or ties together.
Yeah. I struggled with that too early on. It was more so of the work life balance and when do you shut it down so that you can be with your family and
Yeah,
enjoy all that it is about, all the things that you want to enjoy when you own your own business and you are
yeah,
your own boss. And I realized after my car accident, actually, which was one of the big hurdles I had to go through, um, was that my weekends are mine.
that's right.
And I was no longer going to um, work on my client projects unless, by my own regard, I didn't get it done when I should have during the week. I would not return emails or text messages on the weekends. They were my sacred time. And I had, that was a big change in my business, but it brought me peace. Like I was able to love my, you know, business again because you do get to a point where you're almost burnt out trying to build it to the level that you think it should be, and you get tired and then it's more of a chore than it is, anything else. And so once I figured out, all right, my Saturday and Sunday are my family time,
Yeah,
unless it's because I chose not to work on it during the week, and then I'll do bits and pieces on the weekend. But yeah, finding that balance was, it needed to happen for me to still be here 5 years later.
Yeah. You know, I think I heard somebody else talking about the work life balance, and they said it doesn't exist. And I'm like, wow, that's really conflicting or contradictory to what everybody's always talking about. And this person said it like this. They said, you're never going to have balance. It doesn't really happen. But what you need to figure out is how to be fully engaged in whatever aspect it is you're doing, and then put boundaries on what that is. So if you're, and you hit the nail on the head. Your weekends are your weekends, right? And not letting it bleed over, not saying, well, I could just get up a little bit earlier Saturday morning and get this done and still do it. That's where you start to go awry, according to this person. And I was like, that's so true. And like when I have the opportunity to spend time with my son, we that's what we do. It's like whatever we're talking about. I'm not trying to think about work or trying to think about anything else. It's like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about the crystal video that you just watched, or whatever? He's in first grade, so those conversations are super fun. Or like with my wife, what's going on in your world? And her and I work together. You'll probably see her, walking in the background. We work together all the time. But saying, okay, at 5 o'clock Friday night, we're no longer business people. We're husband and wife, and this is how we're engaging in our lives. That is I think where we actually create that balance, because you've got to be fully engaged. If you're trying to mix the two, it becomes diluted, and nobody likes anything that's really diluted. So
Right. So yeah, very interesting that you and your wife run the company together or work side by side. Uh, Give somebody what's your number one tip besides what you just did, ending at a certain time and becoming husband and wife, no longer business partners. What's another
yeah,
tip that you can give somebody that's thinking about going into business with their partner?
be patient. Uh, be patient and be willing to listen to that other perspective. Um, they Oftentimes our spouses know us way better than anybody else. If Jackie were in on this conversation, she would say that it's almost natural to be able to work with your spouse, if you're really paying attention, because you can complement each other really well.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for everybody. I'm not about, there are some people where I'm like, I don't know how you're married, let alone talk about talk about that you should have a working relationship. It takes a lot. There is a lot of stress, and it's very, very difficult to shut it off. And having done this for over 20 years together, it is very, very challenging to not wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, "Hey, what about the Cindy Rowe file? Did you get that submitted?" You know, um, Conversation may have actually happened, but I think that, excuse me, I think that willingness to listen and hear where that other person's coming from, and then also to for us, it's been to realize where we're strong and to work in our gifts. I love sales, and have, Jackie will tell you that I could probably entertain a brick wall. She is much more detail oriented and more of a process, and like, getting production done. Um, that's more some of her gifts, and so as we launched this company, it was like, hey, we've learned these lessons, let's try to uh, deploy them and see where it goes. And it's way more enjoyable now because we're not trying to step on each other's toes as often as we were in like the lawn care company, where we were both trying to get everything done, and we just hadn't figured out, okay, you do this, you do that. We were both just trying to do it all. And when we started working our own gifts, it really became enjoyable.
Yeah, I like that point. That and did you on your own determine what your gifts were, or did you guys help each other figure out your gifts?
Um, I realized probably about 6 or 7 years ago that I truly love sales. I love every aspect of it. And and when we started to make this transition, I knew I wanted to do something where I could do that and do it on a consistent basis. For example, when we were in lawn care, we both were very good at making a lawn look great. You know, we were hands on. We did the work, and so. But I always liked that customer interaction, or helping them to find a solution to whatever it is, whatever that problem was, and that's what sales is. Sales is all about solving problems, and so that was just supernatural, and I just wanted to do that. Jackie, on the other hand, has been a little bit more challenging to kind of narrow that down and say, okay, well, what is it that you really want to do? Because for so long we were so used to doing it all, you know, or trying to man all the bases, and not so much just focusing on what are we really good at. And so there's been several conversations, you know, like, hey, do you like doing that? Well, if yes, great, let's continue. But if not, how can we find a solution to where you don't have to do that, or we can get you assistance? Um, and that's really helped. And I think that's helped in our relationship too, where we're able to start to do things that we're good at, you know, and not constantly be trying to fight our way out of the thing that we don't like to do.
Right. And I imagine that then the business is like a well-oiled machine now, that you've got the things that you're really good at and you're rolling smoothly. Obviously there's things that come up, but as long as you're doing what you're good at, I feel like the connections and the processes all just flow.
Yes, yeah, and it's like building any team, right? You know, as companies grow, you have to assemble a team around it, and if the leadership is stepping on each other's toes, ultimately you're going to have problems both short term and long term. Um, I think us learning how to do that earlier in this career or in this company has enabled us to grow faster than what we did in the previous businesses. Um, and it certainly makes it way more enjoyable. I love coming into the office every day because I know I get to do fun things like this. You know, to me, this still fits in that sales model, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm communicating, I'm sharing the message of what it is that we do. It's not a pitch where I'm like, hey, you know, you need to buy this or whatever. But it is still sales. It's about building those relationships and sharing that story. And so this is always enjoyable. When I have to flip back into lawn care guy, I kind of dread that sometimes, you know, because I'm not working in my gift any longer.
Yeah. I'd like to ask this question of my guests. What or how would you define, or how do you define success?
That's a great question. For a long time, it was a financial number to me. It was very money driven, and no matter how hard I ran after it, I never seemed to get there. Over the last couple of years, I've started to redefine that, and I now define it on what's bringing joy. And because there's always going to be somebody that's going to make more money or have a newer thing or whatever, but am I happy? And I think that's more how I define success now. Happy as a spouse, happy as a parent, um, and certainly happy as a business owner. There are fundamental things that we have to do in those roles, but figuring out how to do it to where it brings joy, I think is now how I define success. Um, I realized at one time, one of my dreams right out of high school was I wanted to have this huge motor coach and and have all this status. And I realized that that really wasn't my thing. I just wanted it because I thought the people I saw have it then looked cool, so I wanted to be like them. But when I started to realize that my journey was different than that person's, I needed to engage in that, and that is how I was able to determine success. Am I being the best Robert Ewald I can be, as opposed to trying to be somebody else? And when I started to figure that out, success became easier because I was just being me. So that's I guess I should have listened to more of your previous interviews to know how other people answered, but that's as raw as it gets, you know.
You're very on point with a lot of my other guests, and it seems like we've all hung up on that financial viewpoint of success, but in reality, it comes down to what fulfills us, or
Yep.
what we do for our clients. And that's usually where people base their success off of.
Yeah,
So
for
great
sure.
answer, and I agree with you. And I think if we don't have joy, or we're not building that joy in our companies, then it's just gonna suck for the
Yeah.
long haul.
Yeah,
It's not worth
especially,
it.
totally. I mean, this is what we do. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we get to choose. I think if I could give like one bit of advice, it would be always remember that you govern the company. The company doesn't govern you, and you'll ultimately find success anyway, whether it's financial or else otherwise. Um, when you realize that you're the one in control of the company, you've got to build the systems and the teams and stuff to govern the company. Otherwise, the company will govern you. And I think ultimately that's where it starts to suck.
Yeah. So I very similar to your dream of back in high school. When I graduated college, I thought I wanted this big office with windows and a fancy title. And, I thought, having six figures, that was going to bring me joy and happiness, and that would deem me successful. But I had that, and I was miserable. And what I realized at that point was that I wasn't having an impact on anybody, and that's what I needed to
Yep.
feel fulfilled. It had nothing to do with the title, it had nothing to do with the big fancy office, it had nothing to do with the six-figure income. It had everything to do with what I was doing, and was it creating an impact on the people that I was serving. That's why I started my business. And that's what I think about every time when I do come across an obstacle, or maybe something that's not going right with a client or whatever. How can I make an impact? What is it I need to do differently? Where can I go from here, type of thing.
Yeah.
So, and the great thing is we are in control of our time and our destiny, and where we take our business. So I never wanted to be a big agency. I love meeting one-on-one with the business owner.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I ever grew into this big agency, I would lose that part. Or
Yeah.
then I wouldn't be the creative, and I'd be doing all the paperwork, and I don't like the paperwork. I don't like the but anyway, yeah.
You figured out how to work in your gift, right?
Yes, yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And it's funny. So many people have said similar stories, that they would gladly trade this status level to just be happy. You know, I think society pushes us to get the cool car, the big house, the whatever, and for what? You know, as long if it's not helping us to get towards our goal. If you want a fancy car and that's really what makes you happy, well, then go get a fancy car. No, who cares? Or if it's a big house. But if you'd actually be happier driving the car that you really want, as opposed to the one that you think everybody wants, like if you're not a BMW person, but you've got a BMW, but you're really more of a Honda person, why would you drive a BMW? If it's or if you live in a 4,000 square foot house, but you would really just be happy, only having to maintain 1,000 square foot house, then that's what you should do. But I think society pushes us. We see it all the time that this is the way things look to be successful. You got to look like this, or you got to dress like this, or live here, or drive this. And I think we get into this cycle or this rat race, and we end up forgetting about who we are as a person. And ultimately, we get 20, 30 years down the road, and you're like, "Dang, that sucks." Yeah. And we're trying to figure it out then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are already past the 30-minute mark, and at the very end, I like to give all my guests the opportunity to promote their business, tell us where they can find you, what's going on. So the next few minutes are all yours.
Oh, well, thank you. Fresh Horizons Group is, like I said early on in the conversation, is that one-stop solution for a client that's looking to kind of make life easier. So we can help with everything from your print needs all the way out to trade shows, apparel, anything that you're looking to put your name and logo on, we can assist you with. We've got several different designers that we work with. So if you need logo creation, we've got those services, and and this is how Cindy and I got talking with each other. Is I'm like, hey, can you help with this project? And she reached out to me. I think the first project that we did together was the shot glasses, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, those are always fun, right? Everybody likes to do some fun project like that, but we were able to have that relationship. So that's something that we're able to do, is that we can provide that one point of contact, so you don't have to have manage 5 or 10 different relationships to get your shirts and your stationery and your updated logo and all that. You can come through Fresh Horizons, and if we don't do it in-house, we have great relationships with people like Cindy all across the country and around the world that enable us to be that resource for you. Something that we're super excited about that we just brought in-house are the ability to do plastic cards. So a lot of times people are like, oh, I'd like to do that, but we're able to do these on a one-off basis. So if you needed like a short run of plastic cards, we can do that. They can be ID cards. So maybe you've got an organization where people need to have IDs. They can be set up like that, or they can be gift cards or just cool business cards. That's something that we produce in-house on the short run, and then again have those relationships that if somebody's like, hey, I need 20,000 of these things, great, we're that solution as well. But that's something new that there's not a lot of places that are doing that, especially locally in-house. So that's something new that we're able to do. When people go to our website, this is going to be evolving. I personally am not a super big fan of our website, and I know I should be because it's ours. I think the coolest feature on our website is the chat feature. Down on the bottom left hand side, you can start a chat, and that chat feature will, depending on if it's me or one of the other people on the team, will be able to respond right away. I think that's the benefit of this type of technology now is the ability to have those conversations. Because sometimes we're on a website and we're like, hey, what about this? And or can you do this or can you do that? And so having that chat feature on there is much like being able to message somebody on Facebook, except here it can be, you don't have to be on another platform. You can be right through our website. So that's a great way to use our website. You can go around and see some of the different things that we do, but at the same time, you could just skip the whole process, and instead of picking up the phone, you could hop on our website and shoot us a message and start the chat that way. So, what I'm always better at answering questions than I am, because I'll just ramble and we'll talk about all kinds of ridiculously interesting things. But are there other questions I could answer for you, Cindy?
No, I think that's great. And I have the website and the Facebook page up for the viewers to go ahead and check you out. And, I'm excited about those cards. I have a few ideas that we could probably use, not only for me, but maybe the junior league as well. So,
For sure. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Well, that is the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining me, Robert. And everybody, tune in next week. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.